this marriage was a final act of abandonment, a way to get rid of her for good. "Tomorrow you leave," he said, his eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the walls. "And I won't have to look at the mistake that took your mother from me." Those words sliced deeper than any she had ever heard, but she held back her tears. She packed her belongings. Her father forced her to marry a disabled man, and this happened. Aisha's life was marked by her mother's absence, a shadow cast before she even took her first breath. Her mother died during childbirth, and her father never truly recovered from the pain. Her father, Ibrahim, made it no secret that Aisha was a painful reminder of what he had lost. He lavished all his affection on her older sister, Zob, whose beauty and charm captivated everyone in their small village. Aisha, in contrast, was left to fend for herself in the dimly lit corners of their home, overshadowed by Zob's light. As she grew, Aisha watched her father's favoritism deepen with each passing year. She tried desperately to win his affection, scrubbing the floors, cooking his meals, and even braiding Zob's hair. But her efforts were met with silence, or at best, a dismissive glance. Each of Ibrahim's rejections was a knife to her heart. But Aisha bore the wounds silently, yearning for the love she had never known. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting the village in a blood-red glow, Ibrahim summoned her. His words were colder than the night air. He had arranged a marriage to a man named Bashir, a carpenter from a distant village who walked with a limp. To Ibrahim, this marriage was a final act of abandonment, a way to get rid of her for good. "Tomorrow you leave," he said, his eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the walls. "And I won't have to look at the mistake that took your mother from me." Those words sliced deeper than any she had ever heard, but she held back her tears. She packed her belongings in silence, vowing that even if no one else would, she would hold herself together. The journey to Bashir's village was long, and every step felt like a walk toward an unknown fate. When she arrived, Bashir stood waiting, his frame silhouetted against the setting sun. He moved with a limp, his face etched with lines of hardship, but his eyes held a gentleness that surprised her. Unlike her father, Bashir took her hand with kindness, and his first words to her were laced with understanding. "You've come a long way, Aisha. In this home, you will not be judged." The words stirred something within her, and as days turned into weeks, Aisha began to discover a life she had only dreamed of. Bashir, though burdened by his own challenges, showed her a respect and tenderness she had never known. He worked tirelessly in a small workshop, crafting furniture with meticulous care, each piece a testament to his patience and skill. Together, they built a routine filled with laughter, shared meals, and quiet conversations. For the first time in her life, Aisha felt seen. But the village wasn't kind. Word spread quickly about Aisha's marriage to the crippled carpenter, and people whispered as she passed, their judgment glances pricking her skin. She heard their laughter behind her back, saw the snares that presented her as a woman condemned to a life of insignificance. At first, Aisha shrank beneath their disdain, remembering her father's cruel words, believing them anew. But each evening, as Bashir held her hand in quiet solidarity, she found her strength growing, like a spark fading into a steady flame. One day, as they walked to the market, she held her head high, ignoring the stares, her hand wrapped firmly in Bashir's. The villagers' ridicule only fueled her determination. In time, Aisha's resilience became visible. The villagers couldn't ignore her transformation. She was no longer the quiet, invisible girl she had once been. She was now a woman who met their eyes without fear, who walked alongside a man who valued her deeply. Even the village's harshest critics found themselves reluctantly admiring her strength. Zob, meanwhile, was reveling in the attention of suitors and the admiration of the villagers. But as she heard tales of her sister's newfound resilience, something inside her began to twist. Her beauty and charm, which had once held the village in awe, seemed to pale against the growing respect Aisha commanded. One day, Zob visited their mother's home, her arrival unannounced. As she crossed the threshold, her gaze swept over the simplicity of their life, taking in the furniture crafted by Bashir's hands, each piece a testament to his skill and love. Bitterness clawed at her heart. Aisha, don't you wish for something more? Zob's voice dripped with false sweetness as her eyes lingered on Bashir's limp. Aisha met her sister's gaze without flinching. I have everything I need, Zob. Love, respect, and a home. Zob's eyes narrowed. She had come to mock her sister, to see the shame in her face, but instead, she was the one left unsettled. She watched as Bashir entered, placing a gentle hand on Aisha's shoulder, his gaze full of warmth, and for the first time, Zob felt a pang of emptiness, a hollow reminder that beauty and admiration meant nothing without love and respect. Time moved on and Bashir's business grew. His talent for woodworking attracted attention, and villagers who once scorned them began to admire his work. Their home flourished, filled with the laughter of friends and the smell of Bashir's craft. News of their success traveled back to Ibrahim, now an older, lonely man, haunted by regret. One evening, he appeared at their door, his face gaunt, his voice weak. I came to see you, Aisha. His voice cracked, the years of neglect reflected in his strange tone. Aisha stood silent, the memories of his rejection vivid in her mind. Yet, as she looked at him, older, remorseful, and burdened by his own regrets, her heart softened. She invited him in, and together they shared a meal. The silence filled with unspoken words and unhealed wounds. Later that night, under the stars, he broke down, tears spilling over his worn cheeks. I was wrong, he whispered. I was blinded by my own pain, my own loss. You were never a burden, Aisha. I was too lost to see the gift that was right before me. With a quiet nod, Aisha placed a hand over his, forgiveness easing the ache of a lifetime. Months later, Aisha discovered she was pregnant. The news spread like wildfire, and the villagers, once scornful, celebrated alongside her and Bashir. Bashir's business flourished further, bringing prosperity and respect to their family. Aisha's life was now filled with laughter, love, and a deep sense of belonging she had never thought possible. Even Zob, once a rival, began to understand the emptiness that lay beneath her beauty. She saw in her sister a strength she herself had never known. Seeking comfort in Aisha's presence, Zob began to visit more. Each visit a quiet plea for guidance, for the sense of peace that her sister exuded. Together, they began to rebuild the bonds that had been broken by favoritism and jealousy. In Aisha's home, Zob found the warmth she had been missing. A lesson that beauty was hollow without love, without kindness. After the long day, as the lantern light flickered and the sound of crickets filled the air, Aisha sat by the window, her gaze far away. The quiet of the night seemed to amplify her thoughts, and a new wave of uncertainty washed over her. Despite the joy she had found with Bashir and the flourishing business, a nagging question lingered in her heart. She turned to Bashir, who was finishing up some last-minute orders by the fire, his face soft with concentration. She watched him for a moment before speaking. Bashir, do you ever think about what might have been? About what we might have become if things were different? Bashir looked up from his work, his eyes gentle and understanding. He set his tools down, his attention fully on her. If you have enjoyed the story so far, remember to like this video by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel. This goes a long way in helping us bring you more beautiful stories like this one. Thank you. Aisha, he began, his voice low and reassuring. There is no what might have been for us. There is only what is, and what is beautiful. You are more than I could ever have imagined, and I know that everything we do together is more than anything I could have dreamed of. But Aisha's voice shook slightly as she pressed on, revealing a deeper concern. But what if there's still something more for me? What if all this, she gestured to the home they had built, isn't enough? What if I could be something greater, someone who can change more than just my own life? Bashir paused, taking her hands into his. You are already that person, Aisha. You've changed my life, and we've changed this village together. But if you feel there's more, I will be with you every step of the way. Together, we can make anything happen. His words suited her, grounding her in the present. Yet, they also planted the seed of possibility. For the first time in years, Aisha realized that she didn't have to be defined by the limitations her father had set for her. She had the power to shape her own future. Not out of need, but because she believed she was worth more. Zob's visits became more frequent. While Aisha's life had blossomed with love and joy, Zob's days were shadowed with insecurity. Her beauty, once her pride, now felt like a mask, hiding her loneliness. One evening, as they prepared supper together, Zob's eyes grew distant. Aisha, she murmured, barely able to meet her sister's gaze. Do you ever wonder if I deserve this emptiness? After all I did, all the ways I made you feel less than. Aisha paused, the warmth of the cooking fire casting a soft glow over her face. Zob, we were both shaped by the same father, the same circumstances. We were made to compete, to measure our worth by what we value. But you are not bound by those old rules. You can choose a new path, a new purpose. For For the first time, Zob looked at Aisha without the veil of jealousy clouding her vision. She nodded, fighting back tears, realizing that her sister was offering her something her beauty and charm had never granted her: freedom from her past. One day, Ibrahim, now a frail man humbled by years of regret, visited Aisha. They sat in the shade of the large tree outside her home, a gentle breeze rustling through the leaves. After a long silence, he took a shaky breath and spoke. Aisha, I never wanted to be a father who caused harm. I lost myself in my own pain, and I let my bitterness consume me. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I know I don't deserve it, but is there any chance for forgiveness? Aisha looked at him, her heart torn between the scars he had left and the life she'd found without his approval. Her voice was soft but resolute. Father, forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened. It's about freeing ourselves from the anger that holds us back. I've learned that with Bashir's help, I've made peace with my past, and I forgive you, not for you, but for me. Her words broke the dam of guilt Ibrahim had carried for so long. In that moment, he realized that Aisha's strength had never been a burden, but a gift. She had become everything it could never be: loving, resilient, and wise. As Bashir's furniture business grew, Aisha began helping him, managing orders and even designing some pieces. Her eye for detail complemented his craftsmanship, and they became a well-respected team, known for their unique and beautifully crafted furniture. The business brought prosperity, but Aisha saw an opportunity beyond wealth. We should teach the craft, Bashir, Aisha said one evening, her voice filled with excitement. We can pass on the skills to young villagers who are struggling like we once did. It could be our way of giving back, of helping others find purpose. Bashir nodded, admiration gleaming in his eyes. Yes, Aisha, let's show them that they can rise above their circumstances, just as we can. They opened their doors to young apprentices, sharing not only their skills, but also the lessons of resilience and respect. For Aisha, each new phase represented a chance to break the cycle of suffering, to empower others with the strength she had found in herself. Zob's visits continued, and with each one, she became more involved in Aisha's life. She assisted with the business, learning the craft from Bashir, and managing the growing list of orders. Over time, she discovered a side of herself she hadn't known, a side that took pride not in her beauty, but in her work, her kindness, and her strength. One afternoon, as they finished the long day's work, Zob looked at Aisha, her eyes brimming with gratitude. Aisha, thank you for showing me what I was too proud to see. I was wrong to envy you, to try to outshine you. I thought happiness was a competition, but you taught me that happiness is building, not breaking. I owe you my life. Aisha embraced her sister, their past rivalry melting away. In that moment, they were no longer two sisters divided by jealousy, but two women bounded by shared growth and healing. The impact of Aisha and Bashir's kindness extended beyond their business. Villagers who once whispered cruel judgments about their marriage now approached them with respect. Elders came to seek Bashir's advice on carpentry, and young women gathered around Aisha, inspired by her resilience. At a community gathering one evening, the village chief called upon Aisha to speak. As she stood before the crowd, her heart swelled with pride, and she recounted her journey with a steady voice. There was a time when I thought I was invisible, a burden left to be forgotten, she began. But through kindness, forgiveness, and the strength of those who believed in me, I have learned that we are never truly alone. Together, we can overcome anything, and we can create a legacy of love that outlasts us. Her words resonated with the villagers, who now saw Aisha not as a woman defined by hardship, but as a beacon of hope. One morning, Ibrahim fell ill. Aisha was by his side, tending to him as he drifted in and out of consciousness. In a rare moment of clarity, he reached out, clutching her hand. Aisha, you became everything I could not, he whispered, his voice a fragile echo of regret. Promise me you will always hold on to this family, this strength of yours. Tears filled Aisha's eyes and she nodded, understanding that this was his last plea, his final acknowledgement of her worth. She stayed by his side until his final breath, honoring his memory, not by remembering the pain he caused, but by cherishing the family she had built. Zob, deeply moved by her sister's grace and dedication, made a decision. She would stay in the village, working with Aisha and Bashir, dedicating herself to helping others find their way as she had. Months passed, and Aisha gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Miriam, after Aisha's mother, a name that symbolized resilience and love. As they cradled their newborn, Aisha and Bashir felt a sense of fulfillment they had never known. Their journey had led them through darkness and suffering, but they had emerged stronger, surrounded by a family built on love and forgiveness. As Zob held her niece, she whispered softly, I promise to be a better sister, the aunt and the friend you deserve, Miriam. You will grow up in a home where love is the only measure of worth. Years later, as the family gathered around the lab dining table crafted by Bashir's hands, they shared stories and laughter, their hearts full of warmth. The apprentices they had trained were now thriving craftsmen, each passing on the skills and values they had learned. Aisha's eyes met Bashir's across the table, and they shared a smile, knowing that they had created something beyond wealth or beauty, a legacy of resilience, compassion, and forgiveness. Their lives were a testament to the power of kindness and the strength to rise above one's past. And in that moment, as they watched their children and friends gathered in unity, Aisha knew that she had truly found her purpose. In the end, she realized all we ever really need is more love, forgiveness, understanding, and the opportunity to grow. We are all so capable of so much that we may never fully realize our full potential in one lifetime. But all we need is an opportunity to try. Hey there, if you enjoyed the story you just watched, hit the subscribe button to make sure you never miss out on future stories, and hit the like button to let us know you love this video. We can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.